is Sidebar. Sidebar, a frank discussion on life, the law, and liberty. Sponsored by the LaHood Norton Law Group. And now, your objection sustained. Your hosts, Karen Klaus and former Bexar County District Attorney, Nico LaHood.
1200 WOAI. Yes, this is Sidebar. As I say every week, go to sidebartv.com because that's where you can get on social media platforms of your choice to watch us during the show and after the show, when you can always maybe message us, give us questions, your opinions. And please also at sidebartv.com consider becoming a contributor to the show. We appreciate every single one of you every single week because you bring something to the show, another facet, and we absolutely love it. So what's going on this past week? I guess we are now in month 2 of the government shutdown. And yesterday I heard there was a federal judge from Rhode Island that ordered the Trump administration to pay SNAP benefits out of the contingency fund because people are going to starve to death. President Trump this week also met with the president of China. I hope that you can fill me in on that because I didn't really read that much about that. Another 4 drug boats were blown up out of the water, and there are pros and cons to that, opinions that people should stop the murdering. And this one, it was hard to find the story on the internet because I guess they're hiding it, but apparently there's a GOP approval rating surge during the government shutdown. Every week, we love for you to come here to join us and listen to the former Bexar County DA, Nico LaHood, trial lawyer, managing partner of LaHood Norton Law Group, and also George Araujo, former chemist, pharmaceutical researcher, and director. So 42 million Americans and others are losing access to their SNAP benefits. And I wonder, again, how is it that a federal judge from Rhode Island can order the president to go ahead and pay the SNAP benefits? How does that happen?
Well, that was Trump's response, wasn't it, Nico? I mean, he basically said, I don't know. So he put it back on the court to say, tell us exactly how we're going to do that, because they're saying there ought to be emergency contingency funds. And Trump said, is that right? Well, I didn't realize that there were, but please tell us how we're going to do that. So I thought that was a smart response. How does that? I don't know. That's an interesting question. How is it that a judge can just step in and say, hey, find money? It's an honest question.
Well, the judge doesn't run the country. I mean, it's a bunch of political theater. It's the same thing. I mean, these judges are becoming activists. Maybe I'm not going to do the both sides thing. It seems like it tends to lean more on the Democrat side, these Democrat-appointed judges. But they don't run the country. I mean, talk about separation of powers. I mean, you do your part. You interpret the law. You make rulings. And then the executive branch runs the country. The people vote. And if they don't like what's going on, then they vote someone else in there, and ideas have consequences. So they're ultimately voting for a set of ideas. I always tell people, when you're voting for a candidate, you're not really voting. Yes, you're voting for the candidate, but you're really voting for the ideas the candidate wants to implement. Because those ideas are they should live past the candidate, right? So to me, this is just political theater. I didn't really look much. I didn't have much time to look into a lot of things this week. But I mean, I don't think too much about it. There's nothing the judge can do about it. The president did ask the appropriate question and pushed it back on the court. I mean, what mechanism do you have, number one, to tell me this or to direct me to do this, but how are we going to do this? I mean, because Congress needs to act. I mean, we can talk about the filibuster. I don't know if you're trying to go into that and to what's happening with the government shutdown and the GOP. When you talk about surging, I mean, define what surging means. Obviously, it doesn't seem like they're being blamed for this, But
does it seem like people are finally waking up to the fact that it might be the Democrats and voting against this that is to blame?
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem like they're being blamed. I mean, usually Republicans get blamed for shutdowns because usually Republicans are the ones that are shutting the government down because of some type of spending issue. I'm not saying it's inappropriate, but I'm just saying, in this situation, the Dems want the Obamacare subsidies. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, that have been repealed by the big beautiful bill. They want them revived, and that's kind of a no-brainer. When you really talk about what they're talking about in detail, you can see why the Republicans are pushing back on this. We're not going to have you hold us hostage. We can have a discussion about the filibuster. We can have a discussion about the rule and in 1806 and why they use it and why it was implemented and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think that's an important discussion to have. Because I have an example to bring up that I think people need to really think about from when Harry Reid got rid of the filibuster with the judges, and now here we have, that situation that has followed us. So yeah, look, it just seems like that people are waking up. I thought it was a big deal when I read that the head of the Federal Public Employee Union called out essentially the Dems for saying, hey, we want a clean resolution, continuing resolution. Come on. So it seems like they're saying you guys are the ones holding us hostage here and we're the ones suffering from it. That's a good thing. I don't know if that's coming from better informed people. I'm not going to say it's been reported properly by the mainstream media, but maybe people are not looking at mainstream. I think the studies show that people are not looking at mainstream media, rightfully so. So it seems like they're well informed or better informed at least. So, I mean, that's a good thing. I think that only strengthens the GOP's position in this battle, so to speak. And it seems like appropriately Schumer and the Dems are being blamed for this, as they should be, in my opinion.
CNN's Harry Enton, I think, was the basis for all this talk about how Republican support has surged. Because, I mean, the words that he's used, I think, were comparable to that surge, skyrocketed. The numbers are significant.
Okay.
So and this is a significant departure from, like you said, the way it's traditionally been. And I think people are, the analysis of the situation among the American public is decidedly different. We ought to talk maybe about why. But the numbers are real. I think he put out two different ways of looking at this. He says that the approval rating, I want to quote him right, the approval rating for the Republican Party overall rose by 2 points. And it jumped up by 5 for Republicans in Congress. The net approval for congressional Republicans soared by 12 points among Republican voters and by 8 points among independents since the shutdown began. And he says the reality is that they were underwater in the 18-19 shutdown with Trump in power at the time in his first administration. And Trump's approval rating is up. He was down by 3 points in that particular shutdown. He's up ever so slightly, but nevertheless, he's up by 1 point. That's Trump. He says it's even better among congressional Republicans. The point is, it seems to me, if you go back to the November 2024 election, and to your point, people actually voted for a particular agenda, and they actually expect Republicans to follow through on it. This is really an important point. How many times have you heard complaining among conservatives legitimately? I've been one of them that says you bring these people in, and then they don't do what you actually elect them to do. Yeah. In other words, we are itching for a fight, not for the sake of having a fight, but because there's an agenda worth fighting for. This gets back to politicking, fighting for, rhetorically, right? For your ideas to actually become policy. And Republicans weren't doing that. They were getting elected on a particular platform, and then they got in there and they got wishy-washy. And I think people are finally saying, yes, that's what we wanted. We want you to stand firm on this agenda and actually not cave. And so I think this is finally, alas, Republicans are learning that when they get in office, despite getting shellacked by the Democrat press machine, that they ought to stand tall and stand firm on the agenda they were voted in for. And people are, it seems to me, rewarding them in the polls for that. And Harry Enton, I don't agree with him all the time, Nico, but he seems to have a knack for calling balls and strikes. And he does that. And you can literally hear the audience saying, oh, did he just say that? And I like that. I like that he's willing to go against the grain on that network. And he has plenty of bad things to say about Republicans, but he also won't hesitate to say the same thing about Democrats when he thinks they're off the reservation. So anyway, I thought it's been an honest week at least.
Rhetorical question. I mean, how many votes can they have before things happen? And what is going to happen? How is it finally going to get resolved if they're going to stand their ground and the Republicans or those that are voting for it are going to stand their ground?
I mean, I think one of the things, the nuclear option that Trump is
Please talk about that, yes.
is getting rid of the filibuster. And I just think that's dangerous. I always tell people, be careful of the world you help create, because someday you may have to live in it.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, so you remember when Ted Cruz, with the whole green eggs and ham deal, which I was like, it's not my style, but whatever. And then you have Booker, Cory Booker, that they filibustered. So you need 60 of 100 senators in the country, 2 per state, and you need 60 of them voting for closure, ending the debate, so they can actually vote. So when you have closure, then you can end the debate. You can actually vote. You can't vote until the debate ends, technically, and that's when you just wait. And so this started in 1806, from when I researched. In 1806, where they kind of implemented this. The example that I wanted to bring up about Harry Reid, he had a problem getting Obama judges passed back when he was in Congress. And so he got rid of the filibuster review. Now there's no filibuster for Supreme Court nominees or any judicial nominees. So that kind of backfired on Harry Reid, because that's why do you think Trump got so many people in the first time around?
Right,
Because of
right.
good, Harry, Dirty Harry. And so that's what happened. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, let's not Harry Reid ourselves also, because if you think, Harry Reid just never thought of the idea that the Democrats weren't going to be in control. Okay, well, and then they weren't in control. And so he created an environment where it backfired on them. It benefited us. And so my caution is, in desperation, don't set up a situation you're going to regret. Again, be careful of the world you help create, because someday you may have to live in it down the road when when the filibuster is gone, and Democrats will be in control again at some point. I hope not. To be honest with you, but
In reality, we
that's
have
the
to
way
accept
the
that.
pendulum swings, and so you have to set up a system that doesn't matter. That's where the system matters, and we don't modify the system. It's part of my whole due process obsession, right? I fit into that category. We set up a system that outlives whoever's in office. This isn't about Trump. It wasn't about Obama. It's definitely not about Biden. He didn't even know what the hell's going on. But just in general, we have to set up a system of checks and balances that we can all agree on. It's unfortunate we can't agree on anything these days, but I'm really cautious messing with the system that's served us well.
Well, when we come back from this break, I do want to ask about the fact that there are, 42 million people on SNAP benefits, which kind of blew my mind. And how long can this go on, and what is it going to take? Which benefit or which whatever is it going to take for this to finally end? We're going to take a break, but remember, go to sidebartv.com and stick with us, because we will continue after the show. But right now, we're just breaking, and we'll be right back with more on Sidebar.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700. 210-797-7700. LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
1200 WOAI, this is Sidebar. I want to wrap this up because I want to understand, how long can this go on? And I understand, yes, the GOP ratings are going up, because I do believe that look what the mean Republicans are doing. They're not giving you your paycheck. They're not giving you your, SNAP benefits. I understand that worked before, and I'm just wondering, what is it going to take this time around, and how long can it go on before this bill passes or does not pass?
Nico, we were just talking, on the other side of the break, that this is really the use of Democrat tactics against Democrats by the GOP. Really, they're going to the press on this. Trump came out and posted and said, "Look, I'm not happy about this. I want to stop any kind of resistance to SNAP. I want to make sure that people get what they need. This is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's food aid, basically, and it assists all the people that you would think, the unemployed, the underemployed, and some veterans, people who desperately need these supplements. Fair enough. And Trump said, "Look, I'm totally against this. I think it's unconscionable." He goes, "But the problem is radical Democrats who have voted," what is it now, Karen, 13 times?
Yes.
13 times. And legislation has come forward for them to vote on, and they've declined, period. So what's the reason for that? And they keep saying, to Nico's point, the argument, which now has fallen flat. The polling's showing the Americans don't believe it. So to your point, what's it going to change? They hoped that this would gain traction politically, that it was Republicans who were keeping, sandwiches from poor little kids in schools, that they were keeping from, necessary pharmaceuticals and again, food assistance from old ladies. They were starving X, Y, and Z. That narrative now has been turning on the Democrats. Blame the Democrats for this. Trump's saying, "Look, I'm not in favor of this." But this is a vote issue, and that's why then he came and said, go ahead and nuke the filibuster as a result. I don't really think Trump's serious about it. I think Trump
I don't think so. I think he's being Trumpian.
And I agree with Nico.
Strategic.
I think the only people it's going to help is Democrats. Because Democrats literally don't care. They don't care. What do you think is going to happen if you nuke the filibuster? First of all, they're going to say, hey, the Republicans did it, number one.
Yep.
And now you're going to get all kinds of really crazy stuff. You want to pack the Supreme Court? You think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is...
Yeah.
You want to make Puerto Rico a 51st state? You think that's a good idea? You think that's going to help us out? So you want to make D.C. another state? You think that's going to be great? You know, add a boatload of additional Democrat delegates to the House. So no one, I think, in their right mind believes that this is the case. But Trump is trying to say, hey, what are the implications of this? The implications are grave, and it's falling flat on Democrats. What's it going to take? More political pressure. That's my analysis.
I think Dems need to be careful. I mean, because as we get closer to the midterms, I mean, and we're not there yet. Obviously, we have some time, but at some point they got to start thinking about that, because this whole political theater is backfiring on them. It seems to be backfiring. I mean, I'm just looking at the numbers like anybody else. It seems to be backfiring on them, and people are seeing through this. I mean, that's why you have Fetterman, apologizing for his colleagues.
He's the standout,
I mean,
right?
That dude, I don't know what. I mean,
Right?
I like him. I like him. I mean, I'm starting to like the guy. I mean, so he just makes to me he reminds me of the old school blue dog Democrat.
Yeah.
The Joe Manchins. The people before, the old Schumer, Reid. People that were just kind of reasonable, and they sat down and said, we agree on most things. Here's the stuff we disagree on. We passionately disagree on this stuff. But so that's what Fetterman is to me, like that old school blue dog Democrat. And he just makes a lot of sense. And that's how you run a country well, is when you have not a disagreement on 100% of the issues, when you have a disagreement on 40%, but you have a foundation of ideas, of our rules of engagement, of our principles that undergird this country that we can agree on. And so I hope the Fetterman ideology takes hold, but I mean with Mamdani and all this other craziness in Minnesota, this dude waving the foreign country flags, can't even speak English, and then he wants to be mayor. And this is the same model that they've taken over UK. I mean, this is not a joke. Yes, and people want to say screw New York. Sorry, I know this is not on your topics, Karen, but screw New York and all this other stuff. But you got Minnesota, Minnesota for all the people from Minnesota, and then you got New York, and then you have Dearborn, Michigan. Forget about it; they're gone. I mean, and then where is it going to end? I mean, where is it going to end if people don't wake up to this ideology, to either the ideology of Islam, to what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish? This is the United States of America, and we've got to camp around and collect around a set of principles that our founding fathers believed on, that we all bought into. This idea of the melting pot is wonderful. I mean, my grandfather's from Lebanon, my mom's family's from Mexico. So I'm an American of Lebanese Mexican descent. I'm not a Mexican American. I'm not a Lebanese American. I'm an American, period, end of story, of Lebanese Mexican descent. It's a different mind shift. And so if we lose that, we lose this country. And again, we can go back to Rome. We can go back to the implosion from the inside. But that's what happens when we get away from that. And so I just think people need to wake up and quit being politically correct, and think about what's best for this country and what this country was founded on, and the ideas.
Yeah, the idea that we're focusing on shutdown, and there's major issues going on right now in the country, the Islamization of the nation. It's not inconsequential. It's not trivial. That's a really big deal. That's not getting enough airtime.
Huge deal.
Kudos to Charlie Kirk for bringing attention to this. And he just left us way too soon, but I think he would have been a very necessary and needed apologist on this issue, because he brought this out, the idea that the Islamization of the nation, the notion of religious liberties, a lot of damage has been done in the country in the last, I'd say 15, 20 years, particularly under the guise of civil rights and religious liberties. The use of America's freedoms to destroy America, to mount an assault on America, which is what you're seeing. I mean, Dearborn, Michigan is 55% Muslim, 55%. And you feel like you're in a foreign country.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is it used to be traditionally Arabic Christians that were in charge of Dearborn, Michigan, in terms of not in charge.
Well, yeah, like
for me, dominant population.
My grandfather, my pop's side is from Lebanon, from Shiite in Lebanon, and you're either Maronite Catholic Christian or you're Islamic, and we came from the Maronite side, Maronite Catholic Christian. And so, when people, I'm not for the mandating women to cover their faces and cover their heads. I mean, I'm just not. I mean, I have two daughters. Even if I didn't have two daughters, I believe in freedom. I believe in liberty. I mean, obviously, there's some limitations to that. I understand that, and that there's that balance that we can talk about. But if people need to study, we need to do a whole show. I love that phrase. I don't know if that's Charlie's phrase, George, or you just kind of the Islamization, what did you say?
I just said it. It just seemed like it flows.
What did you say?
The Islamization of American culture.
Sorry, I said Islamization. Islamization of the nation. That's a real big deal. And again, we can look at the UK. We can look at what happens, and we can look at what Islam really stands for, and the ideology, and what happens to a culture when it becomes that way. And we got to get away from this. Oh, you're an Islamophobe. I mean, that's what Ben Affleck tried to do to Bill Maher years ago, when Sam Harris is on there, who's an atheist. But so him and Bill Maher saying, Ben, you're nuts. I mean, and then Ben just gets all self-righteous and all this other crap, which he's talking out of his ass. He has no idea what he's talking about. He's ignorant about it. He's just trying to appeal to a certain perception out there. And Bill Maher has been very consistent about this when he talks about, and he criticizes Christianity, and we can talk about that, and I'd love to have a conversation with him, but he's really been very direct and very consistent about the dangers of the Islamization of a situation and a culture.
And we want to be very clear. If you're a Muslim, I mean, the Constitution protects
absolutely.
You.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Absolutely. I mean, it's your religion. You can practice your religion. The issue is that you can't. There are violent aspects. There are jihadi, violent aspects of the religion, and those cannot be politicized against the United States. That's the problem. That's what we're worried about. We're worried about massive Islamic enclaves that are politicizing that view, and they're open about it. They're telling you exactly what they think. You hear, I mean, there's video after video after video across the country, and so this is a significant issue. And there's nothing constitutional in my view, and politicians are going to have to get real serious about this. There's nothing constitutional about saying, well, they're just practicing their religion. So in the name of practicing my religion, I can literally wipe out Americans. I can do that because that's ultimately what's at stake. And no, I'm not hyperbolizing. This is what's happened. We've watched this video before. And so we got to really wrestle with this seriously. But instead, we're involved in these sort of shutdown shenanigans. I think Trump's impatience to pivot back to that is understandable, though, Nico. I think people are there where they're saying, does every single legislation get stymied on a 60-vote majority? This is crazy.
I know, but what's the answer then, George?
Well, what I'm saying is the filibuster has its purposes when it's significant legislation that will alter, let's say, significant landscapes of the economy.
So you're just talking about a continuing resolution on a budget issue?
That's all I'm saying. It's because remember we were talking. It's just a continuing resolution of previous budget levels that they had voted for, and it actually happened under their president. So it's clear that this is just, hey, let me use the filibuster to put a black eye on Republicans, and it's actually backfiring against them.
To me, you just got to be careful. It's kind of like the Second Amendment argument where you say, like, well, don't give them anything. You got some Second Amendment advocates, and I'm a huge, passionate, unapologetic defender of the Second Amendment. But I was all, and they don't want to give anything. They don't want to say anything. No, anybody can buy this and that, and it doesn't matter. There shouldn't be a waiting for high-capacity long rifles versus a rifle or a shotgun or a handgun, and I've been in those discussions with people in the past. And they don't want to give any ground because they're afraid if they give an inch, you take a mile, take a foot. And that's what you have to be careful. If you alter the filibuster requirement for certain aspects, you got to be crystal clear about it, because then you kind of leave that foothold, right? You have a little crack in the armor, a little chink in the armor, and then go from there, and then the filibuster's gone in every aspect. What? We'll just take the filibuster away from this and adjust it here. And that's my caution. That's my only caution about it. And we just got to be careful. I think
it's legit. Yeah, how do you break down those rules and who gets to define them? And how much of a majority do you need to actually pass those rules then? So it's almost circuitous in nature, but I don't know. What do you do, Karen?
I don't know, but I always...
Karen, run for president, please.
No, I'm hiding in a hole. I don't want to have anything to do with that. Isn't it funny that it used to be some kids, I want to be president when I grow up. It's like, hell no. That's not even a part of the deal anymore. There's only a few people that want to put their face to that title now, and it takes somebody nuts like Trump to say, hey, I'll do it.
Newsom's coming up.
Okay, there's another nut.
Yeah, Newsom, AOC.
You have to be crazy like a fox, and you have to be crazy.
Well, look, there's good people too. I saw a headline that Vance is talking about, like a Vance Rubio ticket, which would be
love
insane
that
ticket. I'd love that. Vance Rubio. I'm very...
And Trump has all but endorsed it.
Yeah, Trump's not doing it a third time. He never was, and people need to relax.
I love it when he says things like that, though, because it's funny.
Yeah, he's worried about getting into heaven. He's not running it for president.
He already said he's not, and I wonder why he said that. Oh, Well, maybe he just doesn't know.
A little humility, hopefully.
So, all kidding aside, because we have 2 minutes till the break, all kidding aside, everybody that I've talked to says, heck, let New York get Mamdani. Is that his name?
Did you make up a name? Mamdani?
Zoran Mamdani.
Mamdani. Let them go ahead and see what happens. See what happens. But in reality, he wins. He can't come close to giving or coming through with the promises that he's making, can he?
No, of course he can't. But they never do. They're trying to. It's a Ponzi scheme. You promise something you can't deliver to get you to do something you wouldn't have done otherwise. I mean, it's fraud, in my opinion. It's
no,
fraud.
It is, but
it's
what
political
control
fraud.
does he want? What can he do then?
I mean, I'm telling you, it's a bigger deal to lose New York than people think it is.
It really is.
It'll be a bigger deal.
Yes.
I'm telling you, you can't lose New York.
No.
And it's unfortunate. It seems like it's all but inevitable. And, you know, I'm prayerful about it, and I'm serious about this. And the reason why all American citizens in New York, people born here in America, like true New Yorkers, I mean, they're voting for Cuomo. They are. It's all these other people that have been, these immigrants that have come in that are going to vote for Mamdani.
Yep.
And he's going to ruin them. He talks out of both sides of his mouth. But is it enough? Is it too little, too late? Because he's charismatic. He's a Newsom. He's maybe even more dangerous than Newsom because his ideas are even worse than Newsom's. Newsom, at least, you know, he's like a chameleon. But they both they both have that. They both have it, and you just have to realize it. They both have it. They're charismatic. They're persuasive, and you've got to be on your game to hold them accountable. Then you got to get the same exposure that they've been getting, because you have an ignorant voter, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful, just meaning not keeping up with it. They don't realize it. And these people sound good, and ignorance and charisma is a bad combination for an election, and it seems like he's going to win, unfortunately.
He's skilled at weaving together a bunch of Democratic talking points into a compelling narrative. I mean, when you probe a little bit, you realize it's built on nothing but air. But the problem is who's probing, and I don't know if there's enough in New York right now.
Isn't it sad though that free stuff can get a vote for an entire city? Okay, we are going to take a break. Please stick with us, and as I always say, please go to sidebartv.com. Please consider becoming a contributor. We're going to take this break, but we'll be right back with more on Sidebar.
San Antonio's news, weather, traffic, plus breaking news 24/7. This is News Radio 1200 WOAI from the GiveMeTheVin.com Sell Us Your Cars studio.
I'm Eric Lycum at News Radio 1200 WOAI. Some news about SNAP funding as that seemingly endless government shutdown drags on. We'll tell you what we know first, traffic and weather together.
The WOAI Traffic Center.
35 northbound between I-10 and McCullough Avenue. We have some construction that has the 2 right lanes blocked off. On Loop 1604 eastbound between Lock and Terra Parkway and I-10, we've got that roadway closed due to construction. I'm Alexis, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Showers on the way, 74 later. We've got cloudy skies, 54 at the WOAI 24-hour weather center. Our top story. President Trump announced on social media yesterday he would follow 2 rulings about SNAP funding.
2 federal judges ruling Friday that the Trump administration must continue to fund SNAP during the government shutdown. The rulings ordering the Trump administration to use emergency funds came a day before the food aid was supposed to stop. Democratic lawmakers argue there's a legal obligation to provide assistance to people with low income.
Fox's Chanley Painter reporting around 130,000 San Antonio families affected by the food stamp cutoff. Business leaders have joined together to raise funds to help fill the gap. The city will hand out HEB gift cards. Texas Longhorns playing host to Vanderbilt. Our coverage starts at 10, kickoff at 11. News on demand at WOAI.com. Breaking information as it happens. I'm Eric Lycum on San Antonio's news, weather, and traffic station. News Radio 1200 WOAI.
This report is sponsored by AutoZone. Get in the zone. It's time to say goodnight to that check engine light with the free AutoZone Fix Finder service. It'll help troubleshoot the likely cause of your light for free, so you can drive with peace of mind. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
This is Sidebar. Remember, go to sidebartv.com. We will continue the show on social media at 10 o'clock or shortly after. I just never thought that I was going to get another chance to say China.
China.
And he was saying China, President Trump, way back when he it sounded like they were our enemies, and he did not like them, and so he always used it by saying China. But tell us, can you fill me in, George, on this meeting? I mean, it seemed to go well, the meeting with the president of China. What do you think happened? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it a nothing burger, as you say?
What did Trump say, Nico? That it was a
12 out of 10. Yeah.
I knew he was going to say. I knew he saw that.
You know how I get, man. 12 out of 10. I mean, the 10 is insane.
He called it an amazing meeting.
I know. Look, that's another Trump thing. I mean, it's just it's Trump, you know,
Big,
even hyperbolic.
beautiful meeting.
You know, and look, one thing, as much as my style isn't to say stuff like that, I've just learned to pause and just wait for Trump. I mean, the guy's just playing chess differently. I don't even know how to play chess.
Everything is big and beautiful.
But it's just there's logic behind it. I mean, the way he isolates China, the way he's dealing with it, the way he worked with the Middle East, he's thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead. And his whole approach, I mean, you see Xi walk in and they shake hands. He's like, look at this. How you do to see you? President Xi's my friend and here. And he's a tough negotiator. It's tough. He's tough back there. He's tough. And he's like he's like just puffing him up. And then Xi's there looking, you know, barely, you know, stoic, the same he always looks. When he's, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm this. He looks the same. I mean, so, and that's not a complimentary culture over there. So it's interesting. I'm curious. And he's dealt with the culture before. They don't, it's not like they, you know, you go to the Middle East and everyone's complimenting each other, kissing each other's ass, and oh, they're great this and they're great that, and the pomp and circumstance. China's not, that's not that culture.
Let go of my hand.
Yeah. And you know, I want to see how that handshake was. It's like, hey, Xi, you son of a, you know, I mean, I don't know. Look, I'm going to wait and pause before I ever just, I mean, 12 out of 10 is a big deal, but I'm sure the filibuster is the same thing. Trump's Trump, man. I've learned to just wait. But I don't think this was some home run. It doesn't seem like it. The trade imbalance is humongous between us and China. I don't think it's over from what I heard, George, and please correct me, that this is going to be a yearly evaluation. So this seems like this ongoing thing. So it's going to be some ongoing sparring, which the thing against us is in 3 more years, if Vance and Rubio don't take over, then it goes back to the Dems, God forbid.
You're right. You're right.
Doesn't matter. So Xi's, but whatever. He's playing the long game. I mean, all these guys are playing the long game. Putin, Xi, they're all playing the long game. They know that every 4 years we cycle through. At worst, you get somebody for 8 years. And if we can't keep our crap together as Americans and ideologically, well, then they're just going to wait us out. I mean, and that's what they've been doing. But we can go through the details, but I don't want to cut off.
Trump's out, to your point, Trump, they do play the long game. They've been playing the long game. Trump's out in 3.3 years or whatever. And then if we can get a Vance Rubio, and by God's grace, may that, speaking as a conservative, may that be another 8 years. So, and then it seems to me that Trump's strategy, and there's some inclination that Vance would even be more aggressive than Trump. So I don't know that anybody in China is praying for a Vance administration. I'm pretty sure they're not. Because, I mean, I think in many ways, I think he's going to be much more aggressive. It's certainly not. I think it was a trade truce, but probably not, definitely not an agreement. Because you're right, it has to be revisited every year. Look, the big win for me, anyway, as a casual onlooker and analyst of this thing, I love what happened with regard to rare earth minerals, because it does 2 things. It kind of breaks that stalemate, and for a year's a long time where that's concerned, because rare earth minerals are that we had to win that. Trump had to win that unlocking. The Chinese, was it a month ago or so, basically said that they were simply going to put significant curbs on making rare earth minerals available across the globe. That's breathtaking.
But that's our fault.
Oh, no. We created this monster.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
So to Karen, and George is the historian in our crew, but in '86, China bought some GE plant here and stole our rare earth mineral industry. I mean, it's not that they have 70% of the rare earth minerals. They have 70% of the refining mechanisms. They control 70% of the refining ability, because it's really hard to refine, you know, and we need to develop that here. So they bought this plant. They took the equipment to China, like they do steal all of our intellectual properties. They hired the engineers and all the experts over there, and they cultivated this refining of rare earth. They don't have 70% of the rare earth minerals in China. and that's why it's important for Trump to get that Australian deal together.
I think every conservative, every Democrat, every independent, regardless of your political persuasion, you should understand what Nico's saying, because this is really the heart of the issue. If I may, I'm just going to, you're accurate, I'm going to be a little precise.
Please.
They literally control, this is essentially a monopoly. They literally control 70% of the mining capabilities and 90% of the refining capabilities.
Wow.
Rare earth minerals has nothing to do with scarcity. They're all over the globe.
Right.
The issue, though, because they're not in concentrations in particular geographies, they're all over the globe, but they're not concentrated, and they're not usable in their natural state.
Right.
They have, and it's brutally expensive to extract them from the earth, and it is environmentally disastrous. It's nasty stuff. And so, but when is China, when's the last time China cared about the environment? Give me a break. So China cares about power and cares about political expediency. And so China, over the years, while we've been arguing about shutdowns, China has been developing really a monopoly around these capabilities. And so,
but explain why we need it. Every magnet, everything that has a screen, you need these rare earth minerals. Because it's part of it, right, George?
Yeah, I mean, if you can find them on the periodic table of the elements, you might be sorry you asked the question, but it's in the periodic table of the elements. It should be the F group. It's really the lanthanides. Chemicals like, or elements like lanthanum and cerium, for instance. These are oxidizing agents. And if you remember your chemistry, oxidizing agents tend to reduce, means they gain an electrons. And this is important. It really is, because this is what creates the electromagnetic properties that we're talking about. They're in every single smart screen. Yep. They're in every single computer. Yep. You need them in drones. You need them in advanced military equipment. Yep. So every defense contractor was celebrating. I mean, are you kidding me after this? This was a big, big deal. And the idea that China has a monopoly on this kind of laptop computers, for goodness sakes, every algorithm, Salo, every algorithm that can't process information without these sub-elements built into their infrastructure.
Yeah, but then what's the long play? Because Trump is always about the long play.
Well, that's what he was working on 2 weeks ago, and that's why he came in with the leverage. In my view, maybe I'm oversimplifying. I don't think I am. Remember, this was an Asian vacation. I mean, he started Trump's Asian vacation. He started in Malaysia. He comes out during the Trump dance. Did you see this?
Yes.
That's hilarious. By the way, he came into Malaysia dancing and he left dancing. I mean, what other president could do that? So he comes into Malaysia.
It's called dancing, but I like it. I like it.
And into South Korea, and then I particularly love his meeting with Sanae Takaichi, the new female prime minister of Japan. Yeah. Boy, you think they were best buddies. I don't know if you saw that press conference. He brings her on an aircraft carrier, and it was impressive.
A lot of smiles.
This is a huge message to China. I mean, really, that we're not going to stand idly by. We can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. China had to find a middle ground. There's no way that she was happy about pulling off for a year and opening
and then
access.
He drops the tariffs from 110% to 40, right? But he's still putting pressure on them. That's good.
That's an excellent point, because at the end of the day, the total tariffs on China still remain at 47%.
Yeah, man.
That's truly unprecedented. Yep. And so that remains in place.
But he couldn't do that if he didn't get to 110.
And he's building allies. That's the point. He is creating an Asian ally base. That's really the point. And then he's been working with other nations that have some rare earth mineral extraction and refining capability to build those capabilities outside of China.
That's what I want to know. I was thinking that the entire time.
We certainly can. And environmental laws, I think, have been part of the issue. Again, this is not environmentally friendly.
Got it.
Now, if anybody can do that, in an environmentally conscious way, it's certainly the United States of America. We've managed to do that with fracking. So we can do this. Again, people keep saying it's the old adage, we can put people on the moon, right? But why can't we do this? We can do it.
Salo doesn't believe we went to the moon. But this is for Salo. This is for Salo.
Salo, do you believe there is a moon? I just want to make sure.
This is for Salo, because I saw a clip of Bill Gates saying, hey, the whole climate deal, let's relax a little bit.
I heard it, too.
And then I heard the theory. I heard a theory that was interesting. Sorry, this is not on the scheduled topic, but it's juicy for Salo. He's salivating. I heard the theory that the whole Epstein deal by Trump was, hey, I know who's on this list, and certain people are on this list. You're going to do it. Because where does Bill Gates, it's interesting to me. Where does Bill Gates go from, over $1.3 trillion wasted on this climate stuff? Not that climate is not important, not that there's not climate change naturally, but we don't get into the argument right now. But for Bill Gates, I saw the clip where you kind of like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. And he's at the dinner table with Trump, and Trump's patting his legs and, hey, Billy, don't forget what I have on those videos. I don't know. I'm just saying. Sound all right? I don't know. It's just
Meantime,
interesting.
Prince Andrew
All right, Salva,
is no
that's
longer
your
Prince
little-
Andrew, and he's living in a garage somewhere.
I don't know. It's interesting to me, at the very least.
Look,
Sorry to distract you,
no,
George.
but
Go back.
I'm inclined to agree. I think
Minerals.
Bill Gates is probably reading the tea leaves here, and really there's a political shift. Remember, what was it? During the Biden administration, we were concerned on the opposite end. Remember, we were talking about DEI coming into a corporate framework. We were talking about corporations now becoming stakeholders, really non-governmental stakeholders of a centralized planning office in Washington, where now there's really no daylight between, and there has been traditionally, between the United States government and corporations. And we were really seeing no daylight between them. We talked about ESG. Remember that? Environmental, social, and governance, which is really the implementation of diversity, equity, and inclusion philosophy in American corporate boards, human resource conduct manuals. You want to change American culture? Start changing corporation by corporation by corporation. I'm not talking about mom and pop shops, but corporations with tens and tens of thousands of employees.
Yep. That
begins to change American culture. We were worried about that. And we were watching as corporations became really sort of left-wing arms. Remember during the age of COVID, the 3-foot rule, the nonsense 6-foot rule? Wearing masks at Target. It was craziness.
So people still wear masks.
I know. I've seen them everywhere.
We were worried about that. And I think that Trump has been very effective at shoring up multiple prongs against, really sort of the long march of left-wing ideology inside institutions. And Trump is trying to do the opposite now on behalf of conservatism. Could it be that Bill Gates is simply reflecting that and saying that he sees a shift in that? I don't know.
I don't know.
May it be. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but we'll see what happens.
We're going to take a break. Nico, you don't have a laminated periodical table card in your wallet.
I get sick. I get nauseous when I hear that crap.
Talk about
We're gonna
pair repulsion model. And
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more on Sidebar.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700, 210-797-7700, LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
I saw that.
Okay, here we go. No talking anymore. This is our last segment on WOAI, so now's the time to get onto sidebartv.com, find your social media platform. It's so funny. President Trump is so strategic, whether you like him or not. The things that both of you were saying, he's thinking 10 steps ahead. And so I'm thinking, okay, he's meeting with the president of China. He's asking why these federal judges from Rhode Island are trying to stop, make him pay for SNAP benefits. And in the meantime, he's destroying all of these drug smuggling boats that people are freaking out about, I guess because there's video of it. How is he doing all of these things at one time? I mean, everything seems to have been a win, a big win. Is this something that people are going to try to hang on to as being the thing? You need to stop that.
And in all fairness, there's some people obviously that support the Democrat ideology and agenda do not believe that Trump's winning, right? They think he's destroying and hurting us. So fair. Well, that's fine. That's your opinion. I disagree with it passionately, and I think objectively the evidence doesn't support that. But we've got to respect that. But when it comes to boats being blown up, I mean, ultimately, this is to compel a regime change. Maduro, I mean, it is ultimately. The country's in shambles. They're in shambles. I mean, anytime you're taking pressure and it looks like it's going to fall apart naturally. So here's Maduro that comes in. He's the successor to Hugo Chavez. And I heard Patrick said this. I don't know if this phrase is out there, but he mamdami'd the whole damn country. I mean, he did.
It's so
He
funny.
implemented, he mandami'd the whole damn country.
Listen to Patrick.
Right?
Love
I mean,
it.
I don't know
Love
where he
it.
got it from, but I got to give him credit. I'm not going to take
Good job,
credit for
Patrick.
somebody else. But I mean, but he shouldn't be president. So Maduro is truly an illegitimate president. I mean, and I won't go through the numbers and the polling and all the third-party observers that were watching this. And so there's this fake democracy set up, just like when Saddam Hussein was quote-unquote elected in. Same thing with Maduro, and he's destroyed a once gorgeous, beautiful, vibrant, productive country. This is an example of what happens when you mamdami a damn country because of the stupid ideas that you put together.
Wow.
And so, you know, we used to seize boats, now we blow them up. And so this is Trump being Trump. I mean, it's not like it offends me. I mean, this is horrible drugs that are coming in and killing thousands and thousands and thousands, 100,000 just on fentanyl alone. I mean, and where's the outrage on that? 100,000 Americans every year, plus or minus, that accidentally overdose on fentanyl because they don't know that it's in. So if you don't know that you're taking a drug inside of another drug you think you're taking for certain reasons, which I'm not saying you should do that anyway, but they're not trying to overdose, and then they're giving them something that they didn't know they were taking, that's murder. Then you're trying to wipe out people. You're trying to wipe out a population. And so you have to act extreme. And everyone thinks it's horrible until it happens to your family member, right? And huh?
There's some videos of some cops trying to deal with it.
Oh, and then they get affected by it because it's so
They
strong.
touched
You're
it,
right. I
right.
mean, that's been happening
Just
for a long
touched
time. I mean, this is brutal. So this does not shock my conscience. It doesn't bother me when he said, don't bring this crap over, and they keep bringing it over. I'm not going to seize your boat. We're going to blow it up. And there is a threat. Now, George, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I think there was a reason that Trump declared cartels terrorists. When you look at, you know, Congress authorized military force after 9/11. The AUMF authorized use of military force to pursue and destroy terrorist organizations. And so for Trump early on, and people are like, well, yeah, that's cool. For him to label cartels terrorists, it's a whole different ballgame with Congress and funding. And he's gonna go. So
10 steps
I don't know.
ahead. 10 steps
He's
ahead.
playing different chess.
I can't believe Nico is he's managed to completely disarm me. I thought he was going to come in here. We were going to get another due process conversation. I really did. Now, this is why this guy, that's why I love this guy. I mean that sincerely, because he totally disarmed me. I thought he was going to, it's not a one size fits all. I mean, it truly is not a one size fits all. So what you just said there at the end is really the crux of the issue. By designating guys like organizations like Tren de Aragua, a terrorist organization that changed everything traditionally, and this isn't unprecedented. What's going on right now in the Southern Caribbean or Eastern Pacific Ocean is truly unprecedented by way Trump is handling this as a military operation.
Yes.
This is no longer law enforcement. And the designation, just so you guys are listening in, that's the bridge here, and Nico just walked it. The bridge between the traditional enforcement of drug running operations on the high seas as a law enforcement to now military action has been bridged by the designation of these groups as terrorists.
Brilliant.
That's the difference.
Brilliant.
Truly. And that's really, no pun intended, uncharted waters. And now there's a lot of debate on it. I think the way the Democrats are approaching it is just completely ridiculous, and people are just laughing at him. Trump has managed to turn this into an 80-20 issue again because they're saying these poor people, they're just fishermen, for goodness sakes.
Oh, yeah.
And the reality is, and this is where Pete Hegseth did some of his strongest work, he literally, we've used this with Rubio, I think Hegseth did a master class on breaking down how, no, these aren't fishermen. They have a particular look, right? These boats are semi-submersibles. They're amazing vehicles.
Crazy.
They literally look like a submarine's about to surface really on the top layer of the water, and they have this kind of conical top to sort of skate water, and they're literally under the boat, and they're flying. They have like multiple outboard motors. A regular Coast Guard vehicle can't keep up with them. I mean, missiles can, as we found out. But these things are flying across the high seas, and traditionally, Nico, Coast Guard has the ability to warn, to debilitate, and then to arrest them, and then turn them over to law enforcement authorities, and they go through the court system. Yeah. But now, as terrorists, the game's changed.
I'm sorry to have disappointed you. I wanted to make,
no, I was totally unprepared for it.
But I think my logic is consistent.
It is.
These people are not on our land yet. This is an invasion. So you act differently. Now, if they were to get on our land, completely different. Then we go through the due process, and we got to go through the justice system. You stop these sons of SOBs before you get on, because these are killing Americans. I mean, I've seen the horrors of this in real life. I deal with it every week, literally every day. And so it's tragic. And so when I say play it out, I see the play out. And so I want
you to elaborate on that.
Yeah.
So Tren de Aragua, foreign terrorist organization, they managed to literally make land. And now they're on, let's say, the shores of Florida.
You can't blow them up inside of ours. You can't blow them up because you're going to risk harming Americans.
So they can't be taken out. They can't be summarily executed.
No.
Got it.
No. But this is not execution. This is stopping an invasion.
Well,
So the words matter to me. It's not an execution. It's defense. It's self-defense. I mean, we're arguing that right now, 932, 933, the use of deadly force in defense of yourself and third person. This is the appropriate military.
But it's self-defense outside the borders of the United States. That matters. So there's two conditions, right? Self-defense and outside the borders of the United States.
For me, it is. I mean, you're invading a country and you're bringing harmful products that they're killing Americans with. That's different to me. They're on our land. Now, don't get me wrong. If they come out with guns in our land, then you destroy them. I'm not a pacifist. I'm just saying that there's a process that kicks in at different times when you're on our soil.
This is important. So, and this is where Trump's coming from and Hegseth. This is a national security threat.
Yeah.
They are calling it existential and imminent. See, that's where disagreements, I guarantee, is going to be. How imminent is this? I mean, they're out there. I mean, they haven't made it to the United States yet. I mean, and then what they're saying is, look, this is a semi-submersible. We know the difference. Hey, FYI, the United States military knows the difference between a fishing boat and a submersible drug trafficking vehicle. They know the difference. Check. If we don't trust the United States military to know that, I know we're all these investigators that we trust so much, but
we don't.
You got to start with some base. See, I knew it. We got to start with some. I guess that's been my argument from the beginning. Can we at least start with some sort of base level confidence? At some base, does the United States military know the difference? And they're saying, hey, man, they're coming out of Colombia and they're coming out of Venezuela. Check. Gustavo Petro in Colombia is not a nice guy, and we have decades, whether it's him or not, of what is it? A really sort of a network between those governments and these cartel operations that are running roughshod inside the United States. The Alien Enemies Act, that was part of the agreement in that piece that the court had to review, Nico. And I'm wondering, maybe this is where you're now creating that distinction. They made that argument. They said this isn't. Tren de Aragua is a foreign terrorist organization that works in concert, and this has been established in multiple administrations, which is true, with the Venezuela regime. So how is this not an invasion inside the United States? They're foreign terrorists. Why can't we round them up and send them the hell out? And do kind of an extrajudicially, though, not taking them through the courts.
Expedite it. You can expedite it, but there's got to be a process, though, But this is different to me. This is completely different. You're not
even inside the country.
You're not even. You're coming. It's like you're bringing a carrier ship with missiles in range to shoot at us. I'm not going to wait for you to get into range. I mean, so it comes down to imminent, and even in the law, ironically, it's imminent. The reasonable belief of apparent danger is it imminent. We're battling that right now for 3 weeks now in trial. And so that's the issue for me. This is imminent. They're racing to this country, and their products are going to kill Americans. And so, I think Trump is acting appropriately. I have zero issue with this.
I wonder what some of these sidebar Democrats have to say about this. I'm wondering what Alamo talk is
Well, he is saying that all of the fentanyl that is in America is actually U.S.-based, trafficked by U.S. citizens.
But it's not being produced here.
Under the eyes of the U.S. border agents and the border checkpoints, and that's why so much gets in.
Well, okay, if you're asking...
You asked for it, you got it.
When you're making a conspiracy argument, it sounds like there's going to be bad actors, of course. But of course they're going to bring it to America, and then you get American organizations, drug cartels, mafia organizations.
Sure.
They're going to take it, and they're making money off it. I get that, and they should be dealt with appropriately. But this is something completely different. I don't think Alamo talk, I know, I'm very comfortable saying that no one is supporting the fact that fentanyl should be brought into America to kill our children. And even adults. No one's making that argument. So now the question is, what do we do? How far do we go to stop it? Because it's a problem. 100,000 people are worried about gun control. 100,000 people die from fentanyl. 36,000 people pass away from gun-related incidents, and only 16,000 of them are homicide. So the rest of them are suicide. 36,000. You have 100,000 people dying from fentanyl. You have 80-something thousand
How can
dying
you argue those
from
numbers?
alcohol-related incidents. You have 170,000 plus dying from vehicular issues, and we're worried about guns. I mean, I get that. Yes, we should address it, but that's more of a heart issue than an instrument issue. This is a real issue. And so I don't understand, if we're trying to preserve life, let's preserve life.
It's a legitimate question. I would ask, like, it is. I mean, so the argument, we got to do better than that, Alamo talk. We got to do better than, well, there's bad actors inside the United States. Well, of course there are. I mean, we got that. But what's wrong with going to the source of the issue? This is part of what the discussion with Trump and Xi. And Xi said, I wish we would have gotten something a little more concrete. Trump agreed to lower the tariff from 20% to 10%. One of the tariffs that he chose to lower from 20 to 10% because of fentanyl related, because Xi said he was going to make a concerted effort to look into it. I mean, I don't know what that means. Usually that means nothing if you're talking to the Chinese. And so Trump is acknowledging that this stuff is originating. Everybody knows that it's originating inside of China, a lot of precursor chemicals, and are setting up shop in Mexico and other Latin American and Central American and South American countries. And then those then get deployed inside the United States. What's wrong with going inside those operations where you can to dismantle them? So it's an honest question. I mean, it seems to me the moral and the appropriate thing to do. And that's all that we're trying to do. And by the way, these guys are trafficking established drug routes. Okay, they're not on a Caribbean cruise. This is an established route. They showed those routes. They've actually, again, go back to Speed Hegseth. He's on video on this, and I thought it was very informative. Check it out. Useful.
By the way, Pete's doing a good job. I mean, he started off a little rough, but he's doing a great job. I mean, he is doing a good job, right? I mean, that's just.
I think he is.
That was
And he
some
looks
growing
good
pains.
doing it.
Take it easy, Karen. He's a married guy. Look at this.
He looks good doing it.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Please join us on the after show. Get on with social media, sidebartv.com. Thanks for joining us this weekend. God bless you guys. Enjoy your families. Bye-bye.
talking about? What are we talking about?
I don't know.
For what it's worth,
You want to talk about that?
not
talk about?
We could talk about that, but I thought we might say a few more things about China.
China.
Okay.
Say what you want about the tariffs. I mean, say what you want, but I don't know who it was. I was trying to remember the guy's name. I was looking through their, what the hell is the guy's name? Quo Li Wei or something like that.
No wonder you couldn't remember it.
I can't remember his name. I think it's Quo Li Wei. He's the sort of... Karen, help me out here.
No,
He's
I'm not. I'm too
statistics.
busy looking at Nico's face when you say that name.
This is a serious show. But I think he's the head of the Bureau of Statistics or Labor Statistics in China, and he was conceding that Trump's tariffs, in essence, if you go back to the Liberation Day tariffs, right, in April, that China's factory activity has slumped below 50% for the first time.
And why is that?
And stayed that way because of a complex international environment. Yeah, no shit. And so their manufacturing capabilities have contracted significantly. This is very, very important. You need to debilitate China. I don't think people appreciate how truly existential this is. I mean, China just sits back and watches the United States carve itself up in economic and cultural instability. And so I don't know. I thought it wasn't a 12 out of 10. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that's undone. A 12 out of 10 means, hey, we're done. This is 12
out of 10
The war
is
is
insane,
the war is won. It's not.
I love it, though.
These were significant steps in the right direction, but a truly existential threat. How does the Chinese threat and the Islamic threat converge? Because these are big.
But they don't coexist because Islam doesn't thrive over there. So they can China will use the Islamic movement and then crush it.
And they wipe out.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that they wipe out Muslims. I mean, if we are Muslims. But again, there's a mutual enemy called the United States.
Yeah.
The United States Constitution. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Seems to me that's the commonality here. We need to recognize
my enemy's enemies, my friend.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's the way they're looking at it. And so and Trump knows what he's doing, but you got to be cautious with China. This dude is this guy's evil, and he's treacherous. That's the word, treacherous. Yeah. He's treacherous. Putin's just kind of, I don't know, he's pupping out. I mean, he's making
really
nuclear threats. I mean, he's saying,
out.
we're going to test this nuclear bomb, and there's this nuclear submarine that they can put this explosion, and it could like 1,600 waves in coastal cities. I mean, that's a hell of a threat.
If it's real.
They put out that video to explain exactly how it works with all kinds of nice music, and Sun Shao loved it, and all kinds of shit. And Trump said, well, it looks like we need to start. I loved it. I mean, he's a mafia don. I mean, whether you like him or not, he just is. He just, I mean, everybody else ages all crappy. I mean, Trump looks the same, tan, fake hair. He's the same. He doesn't look any different. I mean, I don't know if he's built differently. And so you get your good and your bad. You get your positives and negatives with someone wired like him, man.
So well said. That's a point we should have made during the radio hour. We didn't, but we'll make it now because what you just said is how he's in South Korea somewhere. He hasn't met with Xi yet. And he goes on Truth Social, and he writes this. Because of, literally out of nowhere, because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I mean, that's a Mafia Don move.
Yeah. But then he says something when they're on the plane, he says it, and he just says it in such a nonchalant way. I love it. Look, we need that. I get it. I get if his style you don't like it, Alamo Talk and Mark Antoine and all. I get all that. I understand that. But I just don't know. After listening, someone sent me a video. Like I said, I've been in trial, so I'm sorry that I'm not as up to date as Karen. But I mean, but someone sent me a video of Kamala Harris on trying to use slang words and trying to cuss a little bit. And you guys are so disingenuous. I mean, just embarrassing. And then they're trying to defend. And then Pierre, whatever the hell her name is she's independent now. And she doesn't.
Corinne Jean-Pierre?
Yeah. They're all full of shit. Yeah, and then Gavin Newsom is
fake
pissed
press
off.
secretary.
He's so pissed off because Rogan won't take him on. But it's just these people. Can you imagine if Kamala Harris was president right now? I mean, I literally thought about that the other day before we started
not even
trial.
Funny.
One of the topics we were talking about. It's really not when you think about it, because that has such an effect. It was a spread. It would have affected sports. Talk about the ESG bullshit, and corporations. I mean, social media. We would be just in quicksand, barely trying to keep our nose up. And now that's not being hyperbolic. I mean, we just saw what Biden did. It would happen during his tenure as president. So I'm just.
But you have
Kamala
people.
Harris is
You have people,
ridiculous.
including her, including Democrats, who are all the hand wringing and hysteria when Trump. You end up making my point for me, so you kind of stole my thunder. That's why I'm a little subdued in the way I'm talking about this now. But people were freaking out that this is a violation of international law and he's a warmonger and all this crazy stuff. It is absolutely the most sensible, sane thing to do. China can't build warheads fast enough. They act like there was never an end to the Cold War. In fact, it's Cold War on steroids. Nico's point's excellent about Putin. I mean, Putin never misses an opportunity to turn it into almost like a press conference every time there's anything about some sort of nuclear development. I mean, if the guy went out there and got on social media, wasn't it Salu? It was a warhead or some sort of nuclear deployment capability vehicle. He called it the Satan II or something like that. It was recent. I mean, he's out there, talking joyfully about these things. So Trump simply said, I think we need to match a threat with a threat. We got to start taking this seriously and taking these people at their words. And you have international law scholars from Harvard and other places saying, well, this is a violation of the START Treaty. Hey, FYI, the START Treaty says that nuclear START, S-T-A-R, nuclear development to outpace the United States. And what Trump did was a sane move, not
Eventually over
oh,
the
it
years.
has.
It has. And, but here's my deal. At some point, I mean, all it takes is a handful of nukes and we're all good. We're all done. And that's why this whole Golden Dome and our defense mechanisms are so important. And look, we need a wartime president. And this is not wartime, but I want a wartime president to avoid needing a
Who
wartime president.
recognizes that non-proliferation treaties don't matter if the other side is proliferating.
Yeah.
That's the point. So I thought it was a completely appropriate thing and sensible thing and sane thing, and people ought to be celebrating some sanity, for goodness sakes. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, look, Trump has done the strategy he's used with tariffs, with the economy, understanding his negotiating power with our economy. And he's parlayed that well. I think people have not stewarded that well in the past. And I don't know if you win that objectively. I just don't. To our friends that join us that disagree with our kind of ideas and ideology, I just don't know how you sit down. If we had a conversation, we brought all the facts down and we looked at it objectively, kind of Harry Sinton style. What was it? Harry what? What's his name? From CNN?
Oh, Harry Enton.
Enton. I was
Yes.
Sinton. Enton. I mean, let's just look at the facts the way they are. I just think Trump has done a very good job. I mean, he's been 9-10 months January, so nine months in office, coming on 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pleased with where he's at. I mean, of course, no one's perfect, but I'm pleased where he's at, and I hope he continues to solidify the protection of this country overall. We got to think long game. You have to understand, China, Russia, Iran, these people are waiting us out, and they want to destroy us. They want to take us over. I mean, and if you think, oh, what are you talking about? Charles Manson, I can have him over for dinner, and you'll be the dinner. I mean, that's fine. Like Ted, I mean, this is reality.
Or Hannibal Lecter, yeah.
You have to understand what we're dealing with here. We're not dealing with honest actors. And I think Trump knows that. He's playing the game. He understands how to do this. And I'm hoping and praying that he's training up J.D. Vance. And Rubio, I think, already has it. He's
I think,
brutal.
yeah.
Love it. And we have to be that way. There has to be a meekness in our leadership. And meekness biblically in Matthew 5 is strength under control. Someone that, if have to, you draw the sword. And then and when necessary, you extend your arm. Always hoping the olive branch works because you have good intentions and you come to the table with clean hands, as we say in contract law. And then, but we have to think about the preservation of this country. We're going to be celebrating 250 years this next year. The longest constitution to survive for now. And this experiment has lasted this long because no other constitution has lasted because of the ideas that undergird it. And I'm praying and hoping that this year that we just have a resurgence of people's interest in wanting to study and know the Constitution, to study our founding fathers, to know that yes, they were flawed men, but they were I think God divinely inspired to put together this experiment called the United States of America, where we could pursue life, liberty, and happiness, and it meant something. It didn't mean pursue your feelings and a quick fix or this microwave mentality, fast food mentality, mindset, and that meant something to them. And I hope we can get back to that. I'm encouraged by the young people kind of understanding that, hey, this sucks. We've been cheated out of a certain period of our lives, and I'm looking at back here and I'm thinking, the fuck do I believe? I mean, what am I standing for? Am I wrong for this or that? And that's why I'm so hard, and George and I are so hard on the church in general, to push them to step into that gap. There needs to be a feeling of someone has to be girding up these young men and women in a certain set of rules and principles. So I don't know. That's my prayer for the new year as we wind up this year. And wisdom over President Trump, unity over both parties. Prayerful. I'm prayerful over the Democrat Party as well. That I hope that the Fettermans of the world take over the Democrat Party, because we need a strong Democrat Party, but a reasonable, sane one that's not trying to hand over our country to socialism and communism, and that does not want to usher in this Islamization or whatever George said of this nation. Because go to Yemen if you want that. Go to Saudi Arabia. Go somewhere else, but not the United States of America, where women don't have to be, covered up. Where if a homosexual wants to live out that lifestyle as an adult, you have the freedom to do that, and that boys and girls are boys and girls, and raise children up and teach them to read, write, and to do math, and then they can educate them and they can make their own decisions as they get old. That's what freedom is about. But we got to have some parameters, and so that's my prayer for this new. We're not even at the end of the year. What the hell did I get into this discussion for? But you know what I mean.
No.
Yeah.
But it is what it is about, isn't it? I mean, we've had a multi-pronged attack on the constitutional order led by a communist mindset for decades, enabled by complicit conservatives who think playing nice is a strategy. It is if it's temporary, but that's been, never go on the offensive. You be careful. You don't want to piss off those independents, because that's always been the argument. Don't stand up on principle because you might piss off the independents. And I don't understand it. What are you saying? The independents don't have any principles? I don't get it. It's just been a failing strategy, and so we've seen our infrastructure deteriorate. We've seen our manufacturing capabilities completely vanish. Our educational outcomes are in a shitter, because we've really outsourced the American educational system that should be teaching American civics. What does it mean to be a productive citizen after you graduate? What does that look like? To build up the American constitutional order. What does it mean to reinforce the American ideals of religious liberty, freedom of conscience? What does that even mean? What does a strong America look like? How did America get to be the number one power in the world? Economically, militarily, and otherwise. How did that happen? Because it didn't happen by accident. And so there's just been a complete erosion, it seems to me, of the American constitutional order, and that's led to hugely negative societal outcomes. And Trump has been moving at the speed of light to try to shore up the erosion in these major sectors. I mean, it's a break. What's the expression? Breakneck speed.
Yes.
It really has been. I mean, I don't know how you watch it and don't get tired watching it. And yet, here's the good news. It seems to me, he's got another 3 years to go, Nico. Yeah. So if he continues this pace, I mean, it could be very encouraging and very good for the country, and may it continue. I
mean, just think about the National Guard issue that the View and all these insane cackles are saying out there, and you have cities that have been destroyed. I mean, if you have no order in a city, and look, in San Antonio is not far behind. We're the most dangerous city in Texas per capita. We're in the list nationwide.
Fifth nationwide.
Fifth. Think about that.
I know.
How do you think that's going to affect tourism? I mean, this matters. This stuff matters. Ideas have consequences. And so, if we can just quit labeling ideas and say, can we have ideas of order? Can we have ideas of freedom, of discussion, of borders? I mean, look, the border issue has been put to bed. I mean, people on the Valley are probably elated. I hope they keep voting that way. Vote for the ideas and the party that cleaned up that border issue. All I'm saying is these things need to be addressed by people, and I hope people wake up. I really do. I mean, I've been in this in this trial, and I'm seeing in our opinion, the whole team agrees, this abuse of authority and power on what they're doing to these officers. It's shameful to me, in my humble opinion. It's shameful, and I get intense. I get passionate about it because this has real effect on lives. When someone loses their life, and I don't take that lightly at all. And experiencing what happened to my brother in our driveway, and how that affected us and me and the road I was going down, and then me going through the justice system. Being very foolish and misguided back then when I was younger and selling drugs, and then having a system that has a redemptive side to it. And then me changing my worldview and my ideas by committing my life to Christ and studying it. And yeah, I'm rough on the edges, but I'm pursuing something greater than me. Understand that I'm not going to be here forever, and then I got to stand before the architect and of the universe and give an answer for my life and what I stewarded and my responsibilities. I mean, this is a big deal, and so if we really care about the future, if we care about the next 250 years, we need to learn. I think people need to go back and educate themselves about what undergirds this country. What set of ideas, what did the manufacturers say about this experiment? What set of ideas? Now, I understand that there's going to be a progression in some terms, but the growth of the administrative state, I mean, some of the ideas that they're trying to do, that wasn't what our founding fathers thought of and contemplated when they put this experiment together. And we're not going to survive that. We're not going to survive three-letter agencies that are unelected bureaucrats making laws, enforcing laws, and not having to answer to the people. That's not the way this experiment is set up. We have a constitutional republic. We have representative government where people go back to their constituents and say, I went out there and I fought for the ideas that you believe in, that I believe in, and I'm your representative. Like I'm in court, I'm the representative of my clients, of our clients. And I have to fight a government and at all odds and let the chips fall where they may. And yes, I'm going to get banged up, but I'm going to give more punches than I'm going to take. I promise you that. And I'm going to come back and give an answer to my client. And so that's how it looks to me, where these representatives are they're just, they're not, I don't think they're in it for the right reasons. A lot of them. And I've heard people on both sides of the, I love that idea, but I can't agree with. Mark tells me all the time, we got to have Mark back on the show to talk about it.
Please.
He's campaigning right now. I think 121 is blessed to have him. I think the state of Texas, I'm biased, but I'm also objective. I'm very good at disagreeing with my brother. I promise you that. And we've had knockdown dragouts over the years like brothers do. But I know what makes him tick. I know his heart. I know the principles that he was raised with. I know what he believes. And I know what he thinks about people. And he cares about people. He truly, genuinely cares about people. And we need that type of mindset in all levels. Not about you. You can't be afraid to lose the position for a principle, or it's not a principle. If you protect the position over a principle, then it's not a principle by definition to me. A principle is something you die for, that you stick your heels in the sand, that you draw a line in the sand that you stand for against all odds, because it's a principle. I can't adjust it. Now, if you have a persuasion to do something, that's different. This is our tendency. My tendency is to do this, but if I have too much opposition, I'm going to change. Okay, well, then that's a tendency. It's not a principle. And so that's my heart. That's my motivation. I don't know. I mean.
But what I adore about Mark is that these are principles that are informed by assumptions about what it means to be free, what it means to be a moral person, what it means to be an American citizen. They're informed, and he loves to engage around that stuff. As I joke about with him, it can also be very annoying because he won't let you go. Like he'll ferret at the issue until he's satisfied that that it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. I like that. He pursues agreement. What did Dennis Prager used to say? I prefer comfort. I prefer what the hell was it? Clarity over agreement is what he would say. And I think that's a good principle.
Like
and I think it does seem to me when I think of Mark, I think of it that way. I mean, Thomas Jefferson said, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it basically expects what never was and never will be. You can't be ignorant and free. You're expecting what never was and what never will be. It's absolutely true. I mean, this guy, he was 33 years old. We look at a picture of Thomas Jefferson, he looks ancient. But the dude was 33 years old, Nico, when he wrote the Declaration of Independence.
Crazy.
He wrote it in 17 days. John Adams wrote, because they corresponded a lot. By the way, they died on the exact same
you've always
day
said
of the
that.
exact same. It's fascinating to me because it's I don't think it's been studied enough, at least broadly enough. They were the worst of enemies, political nemesis, while they were in government. They got out of government and ultimately corresponded for the next 25 years and became the best of friends and literally died on the same day, July 4th, 1826. And John Adams thought that Jefferson, while he's laying on his bed, he thought that Jefferson had already died. And he said, the last words were, Jefferson lives, not knowing that Jefferson had already died.
Wow.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Not hilarious, but it's
ironic.
It's interesting. But he goes 33 years old, wrote the Declaration of Independence in 17 days. Adams said that he had recommended that Jefferson should write it because he was the best writer and because he had the fewest enemies in government.
At that time.
At that time. And Jefferson actually said he disputes that. He disputed that. But I love the way it's broken up. You know, the preamble that we now quote, but for the longest time nobody cared about. Right? We hold these truths to be self-evident. That's a preamble, which we argue is a theological statement. And then he gets into the sins, basically the grievances, the sins of the King of Britain. So, you know, the justification for the last part, which basically says we're going to have to sever all political ties. Right? A theological statement about all of humanity and the rights that human beings have just because they're human, not because they're American or not American or English or not English, because they're human beings. Theological, ultimately, philosophical. And then he provides basis for an unsustainable situation. 27 grievances against the King of Britain. By the way, if we read them, it's scary how the parallels that you find to today. And then he says, therefore, we need to sever our political ties.
Don't start a revolution, George.
Yeah. Don't read the Declaration.
I'll tell you one of my favorite quotes from Thomas Jefferson from 1788, and we use it in our voir dires, in our jury selection process, because it's part of the role of the jury and the empowerment of the jury. Check this out, what he said. I consider trial by jury as the only anchor ever yet imagined by man, by which the government can be held to the principles of its constitution, end quote. I mean, so you think about of the people, by the people, for the people. I mean, that's the role. That's why I love our justice system. I love the fact that everyday folks like us get to sit in judgment, not a government, not a monarch, not anybody else, not a prosecutor. Even when I was a prosecutor and the DA, I mean, I respect that jury process, and I consider the trial by jury as the only anchor ever yet imagined by man by which the government can be held to the principles. It anchors the boat, the ship, the battleship of the government can drift off, if not anchored down.
Listen, and I knew you were going to say that, but listen to how, because I think you pulled this move during the radio hour and it was disarming to me. And I thought, because you got to do a case-by-case analysis. You don't run roughshod over everything over one analysis. You got to understand the context and the circumstances. The Jefferson that you just quoted also said this: the germ of destruction of our nation is in the power of the judiciary. An irresponsible body, working like gravity by night and by day, gaining a little today and a little tomorrow, and advancing its noiseless step like a thief over the field of jurisdiction until all shall render powerless the checks and balances of one branch over the other, and will become as venal and as oppressive as the government from which we separated.
But see, that's consistent with what I said, with his quote.
Yes.
Yeah. It's because he wanted the power in the people. That's right. Yeah, I think it's very consistent.
It's not inconsistent. It comes across like he's going after judiciary, but no, he's saying gross abuses are inexcusable and unacceptable.
This statement, judiciary is part of the government. This statement is saying, no, the government can get out of whack, and the only way to anchor them down is a trial by jury, not trial by judiciary, a trial by jury, where the government comes in and says, you did something wrong. And the referee says, well, I get to make the decision. And the Thomas Jefferson says, screw both of you sons of bitches. No, the people get to make the decision. And we have to have rules of engagement. And ultimately, my future is in the hands of the people. And the people are the only way that can rectify a government gone off the rails, so to speak, and a judiciary that may be skewed in this statement here, and why he treasured so much a trial by jury. Because your ultimate destiny is controlled by the people. That's I love it. I mean, it's true. I love it. I want to sit down with people. It's Isaiah 1 and reason together. You know, they always say another biblical principle, the first one to speak in a lawsuit sounds correct is Proverbs 18 until the cross-examination begins, right? And this is the process that I cherish so much, the judicial process, the trial by jury, the courtroom. Lady Justice, to me, the idea of her is she's gorgeous to me. I mean, the idea of a blindfold.
I think that is consistent.
It is consistent, Daddy. Very much so.
Put it in the power of the people, and not in the power of a few select judges.
Yes.
I think that was his point. You don't centralize that power in the judiciary. You know, before it goes to George, your issue is deliberated among really sort of among your peers, and that's very, very part of the court system. He was very concerned about nestling a lot of power in the hands
singularly in the hands of judges. Very, very worried about that. There's correspondence between him, you guys can look it up online, between him and William Jarvis in 1820. This seemed to be a huge concern at the time. This is literally 6 years before his death. And he was very, very concerned. He says, man, he says, you seem to consider the judges as the ultimate arbiters. Listen to the wording, the ultimate arbiters of all constitutional questions. A very dangerous doctrine indeed, and one which would place us under the despotism of an oligarchy. That was his concern. You know, a group of judges, you know, draped in black cloaks, basically pontificating with impunity over the other branches of government and without consideration for trials by jury. Concerning.
So Salo just texted me. He wants to talk about Candace Owens. So,
Right.
Oh my God.
Salo, what?
Right. Let's.
What, Salo? What do you want to talk about Candace?
Priorities. I forgot.
What's the matter with you?
Get her name out of your mouth.
What?
Ah.
What are you, Will Smith? You gonna try to slap me in my waist? I mean,
With all the discussion y'all had, and I'm going to try to make sense of my thought here, but what you're saying about the people need to be in charge, the people need to, you know, make the rules. The government does not need to be this big heavy. But that's why the old hippies in No Kings don't make sense, because they were the ones way back when that were saying freedom, no government, da da da. And now the title of them is No Kings, yet they're going against the dude, President Trump, that is trying to make it for the people instead of having this heavy government. And every time I think of that, I'm like, what? Why does it not make sense? Why are they still under this TDS rule? Because it's all about Trump. It's not about the government. It's not about the people. It's not about, you know, BLM. It's about this one man. And it blows my mind that it just continues on and on and on. One man, no matter what he does, he's wrong.
I would, you know me, I love discussions. I would love to sit down with some of these people and say, what does it mean, no kings? Because if he was truly a king, you wouldn't be talking.
Right.
You wouldn't have been able
It
to
doesn't make
protest.
sense.
You wouldn't have been, you'd been crushed. Because see if this is happening in China or Iran or wherever these places were. I mean, so just your premise on the surface seems to be flawed. But so I need to get down into your definition. What do you mean, and what are you really opposed to? I'm trying to understand. They're arguing. I mean, the ICE agents. He made a promise. He made a political promise that there was a problem behind it. Illegal immigrants were invading this country.
They were.
It was just
yes.
an overflow. I mean, so much so that the people that really had to deal with it on the border, that have voted Democrat forever, said, no, we can't do it anymore. When the pain of staying the same exceeds the pain of changing, we change. And so they changed. My prayer and hopefulness is that okay, stick with who brought you to the dance now. They brought you this new environment. Now let's keep it this way, because don't think it can't go back. And then so this resistance and this almost encouragement now that it seems like to be violent and resist ICE. Now, I believe in resisting the government if it's appropriate at the right way. Mm-hmm. You can't do it this way. I mean, that's one of the ridiculous theories that the government has in this case that we're trying. That their theory initially was, and they've kind of had to adjust because, you know, we keep shutting them down in different court rulings, but it's been out there because people can watch this. I mean, where their theory was, it seems like they've changed from it. Their theory was initially at this trial was that the deceased unfortunately felt, and she was in a schizophrenic, you know, decompensation mode, that the officers were overstepping their authority, that they needed a warrant, that they were not there appropriately, which was wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Legally, they had every right to be there, and there's experts that have testified to that, even from the government. And that because that she felt they were wrong, she had a right to use deadly force against them. She's taken the law into her own hands, and that she could kill or use force to potentially kill an officer that she felt they were overstepping their authoritative bounds versus going
Not
to
the
a
other way
court
around, right?
and going to a motion to suppress and go into internal affairs and all these other remedies we have. That's same due process deal, not taking it into their hands. This is the world you want to create, and so what about when Biden, and we think the same way when they were kicking parents out of school board meetings and they're shutting down social media. I mean, you want to talk about king? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense when there's these riots in these cities after George Floyd. They were destroying people and killing people, including people, quote unquote, of color. I'm looking for a consistency in their ideology and their logic and their principles they claim to stand for. and I'm not. And so that's why when you don't have consistency in your advocacy, then you result to name calling and violence. I mean, so again, this country was set up. There's two ways to run a country: persuasion or violence and force. Our founding fathers, the experiment they wanted was a system of persuasion. Even the justice system, before the government can steal your liberty, they have to go before your peers, and both sides have to persuade them on what to do. It's not a Royal Rumble where you're not going to present that evidence. I want to present it. Well, let's fight, and whoever wins gets to decide who presents the evidence. It doesn't work that way. There's rules of engagement. Yeah. There's a third-party magistrate, a judge, Judge Rangel, doing a wonderful. Is overlooking this and makes rulings, and then we persuade a jury to make a determination on someone's life that could affect them forever. That's the system we've set up. And so they want to circumvent all that. That's why I love our justice system, and it has to be preserved. And who runs it and who operates within it matters. And that's why politics doesn't matter to me. I mean, and I really wish that judicial benches were sorry, this is not part of this conversation, but we're nonpartisan. I mean, county and district court judges should be nonpartisan positions. I promise you, they should. The DA position should be nonpartisan.
Yeah. See, this is where that politics and law enforcement. That you're right. That's very, very concerning. For a long time, the parties used to share essentially the same goal. They just disagreed on the implementation, but they shared pretty much the same goal. I mean, which is reformation. Now what we have in the age of Obama, remember in his speeches, he wanted the fundamental transformation of America, is what he said. So we've gone from reformation, which was the goal of the Democrat Party, I'll grant that to them, and to the Republicans, the Republican Party, reformation. We want to reform America, make it better, build on the great things we have and make it better, versus transformation through revolution. And that's what's happening. This is a fundamental gutting of America, and you're seeing it everywhere. I mean, the notion that you get to decide whether a police officer, it's breathtaking, you get to decide whether a police officer is acting legally. And if they're not, you get to decide what that means then. So you can grab a baseball bat, a hammer in this case, guns, AR-15s, whatever. You take the law in your own hands. Play that out. And the people who are pushing it, there's no way the people who are pushing it, I'm not just talking about this particular case, just in general, because I think this is a political view. Because the Democrats in Capitol Hill push for the same thing. That's why they stood idly by when the nation was burning 5 years ago. They had a right to do that. They had grievances. They had a right to take the matters in their own hands. They were concerned about systemic racism, institutional racism. So guess what? They could burn down buildings. They could destroy cars. Ironically, and the irony is always lost on communists, ironically, a lot of the people who were hurt were black people. Yeah. But they didn't care about that. And so this is what worries me. There's a political persuasion that believes that the changes are revolutionary in nature and that you can do whatever it takes to burn the system down to the ground. There's a philosophy. This doesn't happen by accident. And I love that you're pointing out the inconsistencies in that philosophy, because the very people who are pushing it would never want to live in that world.
They don't.
They wouldn't. Yeah. That's the point. Now that you have this world, what are you going to do? Well, the first thing you're going to do is have probably a gate that's 20 feet high, because otherwise they'll come after your ass soon enough, because you've created so much chaos. And so step back a little bit. Don't worry about it if it's Democrat or Republican. Judge the idea on its merits. Yes. So I think we need more Mark LaHoods, because this is what he does. And he has. Mark's gone against the partisan grain.
He's gone
against. He has, because some things just don't make sense. I don't care if it says Republican or not.
That's right. That's right.
You got to get back to worldview. You got to get back to the merit of ideas on their own. They have to stand up on their own. Forget the partisan label, man.
Any last questions? We're going to round it up.
But
nothing. Comments?
Sarah said, I can't read her entire thing, but she says basically, who wants to be a police officer in San Antonio when they get prosecuted for doing their jobs?
Yeah. Look, I had a law enforcement integrity unit when I was DA. And we prosecuted police officers that abused their authority. I can't stand the abuse of authority. It's a tremendous responsibility. But we also exonerated them quickly, too. If there was a false allegation or if there was something, we got them back on to work. I mean, we didn't let them languish for 2-3 years, And so I'm not above. I just don't believe police officers are above the law. I mean, I've seen abuses of law enforcement, but they're not below the law either.
There's a process for holding police officers accountable.
I get just as passionate about an officer or any governmental agency that abuses its authority.
Sure.
I get heated, but the institution of law enforcement is good, and we need it. We need to support it. It needs more training. We need people that have courage, and not all the bullshit, weak ass political hacks out there They just want to throw people into the fire for political expediency and not thinking about how it affects their children. I mean, I don't know how these people sleep with themselves and have to stand before a just God someday. I just don't. I really don't. I mean that. I mean that with every ounce being, every cell in my body, that man, people have to give an answer. They have to close their eye one day, and one day their eyes on earth are not going to open, and they got to stand before God and give an answer for their lives. Man, that's going to be an interesting time. And that's not just on this situation. I'm talking about in general, because there's an abuse of authority in a lot of different areas and surrounding counties and Comal and other areas where people think that they wear the white hat, and you start living in this delusion where I'm wearing the white hat and everything's a nail because I'm a hammer. And it's just crazy, man. There's no temperance. There's no metered justice, right? The whole eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. The biblical principle of metered justice and wisdom and reasoning and sitting down and understanding there's redemption and understanding that there's a system that has to help people grow and kind of bring them back into a community, into society, so they don't come back and break off that recidivism rate, but yet also make sure that there's a strong showing. That's what I think she's beautiful. I mean, the idea of Lady Justice is beautiful to me. And it's developed after the goddess Themis. Now, I don't believe in Greek goddesses, obviously, but back then there was a polytheistic society, and the goddess Themis was the goddess of order. So a justice system should bring order to a society. And the blindfold means that she doesn't look at your political persuasion. She doesn't give a shit if the cameras are watching. She doesn't even care about your religion. She gets the law and the facts, and she tries to pursue this elusive concept called justice. Did we get it right? And then her right hand holds a sword, and that sword is swift and harsh and strong. We have the death penalty. We have the right to self-defense, and the justice system should support some harsh behavior when it's appropriate. And then her left foot has a command over a book, and that book is the law. And you have to know the law and have a command. When you have your foot over something, that means you're controlling it. She has to control the law, know the law, so she can implement the law. And regardless of your ideology or your worldview, the universal symbol of the serpent is evil. And between her foot and that book, the law, she's smashing out evil. The serpent is being crushed by her foot. But in her left hand, she holds what? The scales. And she's got to balance it all out. There's not a one-size-fits-all. You see where I come from? There's not a one-size-fits-all. She has to balance it off, not give two shits about political persuasions and political correctness and all the media and mainstream media. Screw all that shit. She's got to balance it all out to be loyal, and she has a fidelity to this concept called justice. Did we get it right? In our decision, in our progress, in our behavior, does it bring more order or disorder to a society? That's why she's so gorgeous to me, and why I believe in her so much. And I do everything I can to protect it, no matter what side I'm on.
And after that, how do you not pray? Seriously, pray for New York. I mean, this really is, they're about to embark into a season of great chaos because the principles that you just espoused are really just, they're sort of getting blown off and getting blown under the rug. I'm very worried about that. This mayoral race will have huge consequences because these principles are, you're going to see a total transformation where these principles are really sort of just erased and obscured. Look, there is an effort as part of the platform. You're going to see basically an erosion of the police force. New York Police Department is basically going to turn into a group of social workers, and you're not going to see any accountability whatsoever in terms of violence, crime. It's talk about Gotham on steroids. So I don't think this is what happens when people are not informed or not educated. I don't think they appreciate the hellstorm that's coming. What's the right thing to do? What's the recourse here? Because bitching about it ain't enough. I think Curtis Silva needs to drop the hell out. I'll just say it. That guy needs to drop out because we know from the numbers. I don't like Andrew Cuomo. I think dude's a disaster. But at the end of the day, you got to pick a poison that gives you the shits or that kills you. I mean, that's the choice here. I'm sorry. I wish it was better. But so drop the hell out. Come alongside Cuomo. Seriously. And recognize what's at stake here, because there's no path to a win.
But there was a comment last week by Susie Kennedy. She's always critical of me more than you. Whatever, I don't give a shit. But criticizing both of us, like you're obviously ignorant. You don't know the situation. Well, obviously you're ignorant. I mean, look at his history with the. I mean, back then he was accused. Back then when he was young and wearing his little Green Beret bullshit hat. I mean, which is a great idea. I love the idea that you want to keep New York safe. But he was staging allegedly. Staging scenarios where he was coming in, happened to have a camera and going in there,
because it's puffery. Which the idea is good, but do it for the right reasons. You don't give a shit about a camera. Now, if you have a camera, you get the good and the bad, and then you just have like this kind of this tell-all deal. Great, that's wonderful. Then do that. But at this point, when you know you have no chance in hell to win,
right?
You have no chance in hell. What are you accomplishing other than is you're trying to pump up your radio show, and you want to squeeze out every bit of attention you can to last minute. That's not. I'm sorry. I don't know how you make the argument that that's not a selfish move.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of whether I like what he's saying, I thought he did the best out of all three of them the last debate. Good check. Put that in your little memoir and get the fuck out. So Cuomo can have a chance to stop this idiot from winning.
It's just
That's
a number.
my
It's just
2 cents.
it's just
I mean,
reality,
whatever, man.
And so, with respect to Susie and anybody else who thinks that way, at the end of the day, the guy's got a max of 15%.
Max, but that could be helped Cuomo so much.
Oh my gosh, it'll make a difference. There's some polling that puts Cuomo over the top. And I think under the circumstances, given everything that's at stake, give me a break. We're talking about, really? Nico's right. This is not contained in New York. They are the financial and really a cultural epicenter of the United States in many ways, like it or not. And given the enormous political power that city has, I mean, this is craziness. I'm telling you, New Yorkers better wake the hell up. And Seal ought to lead the way. He could do his political career for later in life.
Yes.
A huge tribute. This guy would do... I don't know. He'd do wonders to political career to get the hell out.
He's capable. I mean, God bless him. He's capable. I hope his intent is good, but at this point, I question it. I question your intent when you have zero chance to win.
Step aside.
I mean, sometimes your choice is bad and better. It's not good and great. Not that he's great, but I'm just saying it's bad and better. So, all right.
I worry that he's going to run out of time to do that because at some point it won't matter. What are you going to do the day before? Oh, I'm dropping out. I mean, you're on the ballot. It's a done deal, but do it now.
Yeah, whatever. All right. There you go. Bye, guys. God bless you. Enjoy the weekend. Bye-bye.